Infrared photography in 5 minutes is a pretty tough sell, but maybe I do have an angle to be able to do that here. An infrared camera is one where the normal infrared blocking filter is removed from in front of the sensor, and a visible light filter, usually dark red, is put in its place. The camera is then used very much the same as any other. I'm still regularly using an infrared camera that I had converted in 2014. It's broadened my interest, inspired me over that time, and it's given me the opportunity to capture images I would never have got any other way. Now, the camera still goes everywhere with me. Now, you can't say that about everything photographic because there's lots of gadgets and gizmos involved with photography that can be 5-minute wonders. This isn't one of them. After some serious rain and flooding in Queensland this February, I found myself at the Maroochy River Sheds. Now, my prime camera is a Canon R5, 45 megapixels, and I had an RF 24 to 105mm lens. But I also reached for my converted Canon 5D 20 megapixel infrared camera, and with that I was using a Canon 17 to 40mm lens. I took quite a number of images with both cameras, but all the good results have come from the infrared. Why is that? Well, it's nothing to do with any deficiencies in the Canon R5. It's simply that the colour in the scene wasn't adding very much at all, if anything. Muddy floodwater very rarely does. With my infrared camera, I'm shooting monochrome, and the nature of infrared photography makes it a perfect choice for this situation, and certainly these lighting conditions. Now, this is the angle I was mentioning before, that there's going to be times when our normal camera, even a very good one like the Canon R5, just won't cut it. On this occasion, the infrared did. Now, let's be honest, infrared is not for the faint-hearted. There's a conversion cost to the camera you're going to use, and then of course, once it's converted, it is dedicated only to infrared. You also have to love black and white photography, but when infrared works, boy does it work well. And it works most of the time because it's very forgiving on high contrast. So we can actually shoot in the middle of the day in the brightest of sunlight. This infrared image and one or two of the others have been coloured using Photoshop, and it's a technique I'll demonstrate in a future 5-minute video. It's quite interesting. Now, I hope you'll agree that it does give black and white images, and not just infrared, a very appealing appearance. Now, you're going to need a technician to convert your camera, but there's plenty of places who are able to do this for us. Just do a Google search and then contact the company and they'll guide you. Image thumbnails shot with a converted camera can display odd colours, but it's easily removed and there's no impact on quality while doing this. Our converted cameras are not designed to read infrared light, so a manual exposure setting is best, but with some bracketing. I use a 3-stop bracket around 125th of a second at f8, and that always gives me great exposure. So I've got 3 shots at 60th of a second at f8, 125th at f8, and 250th of a second at f8. Now, this is exactly the technique that I use to create these images, using 200 ISO most of the time, but on occasions dropping to 100. This image is a typical infrared result, where foliage can turn white or almost white. Blue skies can become very dark grey, sometimes black, which in turn can create some dramatic skyscapes. And achieving striking high contrast images, but with a great range of tones, is quite easy to achieve. I have covered this subject in greater depth on my website, and I'll put a link below. So if you've bought a new camera and you still have your old one because you're reluctant to sell it for what you can get, maybe you could consider having it converted to infrared. Thanks for watching.